Good morning, America. Breaking news striking back. More than 100 raids in France and Belgium overnight, dozens of arrests, weapons seized, including a rocket launcher, as police hunt for accomplices in those deadly terror attacks on Paris. Surrounding this man, one of the killers on the run, considered extremely dangerous, and new details emerging about the mastermind behind it all. As France and the United States take the fight to ISIS, launching a massive bombing campaign this morning against key targets inside Syria.
We stand in solidarity with them.
In Paris, new details from the survivors as the city is on edge. Panic in the streets, a stampede at a somber memorial as thousands come to lay flowers. And this morning, new questions about security here at home.
We're here to prevent, detect, deter, and disrupt.
Police presence stepped up around the country. The FBI on high alert. Complete coverage of the attacks on Paris begins right now on GMA.
Live in Times Square, this is Good Morning America.
And we do say Good Morning America. We're following several breaking developments as we come on the air this morning. You're looking at the siege in Belgium right now. Authorities surrounding the man believed to be the 8th attacker Friday night. And in France, authorities rounding up more than 20 people in those raids overnight, also seizing weapons and computers.
Our team tracking all sides of the story all over the world. World News Tonight anchor David Muir in Paris. But we begin with that siege going on right now, Molenbeek, Belgium, a Brussels neighborhood known as a hotbed of jihadi radicals. Police have surrounded an apartment building where that fugitive terrorist is believed to be. ABC's Terry Moran is on the scene in Brussels. Good morning, Terry.
Good morning, George. A very tense situation. Here's what's happening. Just a couple of blocks down this street is where that siege is going down. Police have cordoned off a wide area. They are yelling at residents, stay indoors. And they are now telling the press, please don't broadcast live pictures of what's going on. What you're looking at is tape right now for tactical and safety reasons. And we are hearing that barricaded inside there, we are hearing them negotiate with him or persons inside by bullhorn is that most wanted man in the world right now, Salah Abdeslam. He is suspected of being, as you say, the 8th gunman in those terrible attacks in Paris on Friday night. Officials say the 26-year-old suspect, Salah Abdeslam, is one of 3 brothers involved in the shootings at restaurants and bars Friday night. One brother died during the massacre. The other detained here in Belgium the day after the attacks. But Abdeslam is believed to have escaped to this area of Brussels, plagued by radicalism, a suburb known to send more jihadi fighters to Syria and Iraq than any other place in Europe. According to authorities, police picked up Abdeslam's trail after finding a car that had been used in the attack. They say he took a different car to Brussels. En route, he was pulled over at a routine traffic stop, but not detained, and he made it across the border. ABC News has learned there were 2 other occupants in that car with Abdeslam. So what we have heard so far, one loud bang, no police movement, but some kind of detonation down that street around that barricaded, that surrounded apartment building. This is an area that has been a hotbed of jihadism. The Belgian Interior Minister has said that so many plots have been traced back to Molenbeek, this area, that he says it is out of control. And the Prime Minister said it's time for a crackdown here. But right now, happening now, that siege, police surrounding that building, and we are hearing barricaded inside one of the participants in the attacks in Paris. George
and Terry, it's reminiscent of the siege after those Charlie Hebdo attacks back in January.
Very much so. Very fluid situation right now. Meanwhile, millions of people all across Europe paused for a moment of silence just a short while ago. Paris, as you can imagine, is a wounded city trying to return to normal. And World News Tonight anchor David Muir is there in Paris for us this morning. Good morning, David.
Robin and George, good morning. A very powerful moment, that moment of silence a short time ago that you mentioned. We're in the Place de République, and you can see behind me the memorial that's growing here really by the hour. And it was here just 24 hours ago. There was that sudden chaotic stampede when someone set off a firework, showing just how uneasy the people of Paris are really feeling in the wake of these terror attacks. And we heard Terry Moran report just moments ago that siege going on in Brussels right now. And you can see here in Paris, they woke up to this image today, that possible possible 8th terrorist, that manhunt, the fugitive on the run. Everyone aware of this man, just as the Prime Minister here saying we don't want to scare people, but we do want to warn them. We believe more terrorist attacks are planned both here in France and in Europe in the coming weeks. Overnight, French police carrying out more than 160 raids across the country. These images from the city of Toulouse. And this scene from a suburb of Paris. More than 20 people arrested. French police say weapons seized, a rocket launcher, and Kalashnikovs. All of this as the massive manhunt continues for those responsible for killing at least 129 people and injuring 352. ISIS claiming responsibility. Authorities now identifying the mastermind behind the attacks as Belgian Abdelhamid Aboud, linked, they say, to that thwarted attack on a high-speed train, too. But this morning, a city tormented by deadly terror attacks, trying to regain a sense of routine. People on their way to work, taking buses and subways again. But the City of Lights still on edge after a horrific weekend of bloodshed. Calm turning to chaos overnight at a makeshift memorial at the Place de la République. It turned out fireworks caused the false alarm, sending hundreds of mourners running for their lives, some falling in the confusion. Others taking cover in this cafe, hiding behind chairs. A city shaken by bombers looking to cause mass casualties in areas packed with people. A soccer stadium, a concert hall, and several restaurants. The deputy mayor here telling us the entire city stunned. When you see the bullet holes straight through the windows of the restaurants that they drove by and fired in on innocent people, that's something that's entirely new.
Yes. I must say, this is not Paris. This is not Paris.
The terrorists did not discriminate, shooting concert-goers one by one. You could see the hostages trying to escape mid-concert at the Bataclan Concert Hall, flooding an alley, some hobbling wounded, others being dragged to safety. A pregnant woman dangling from a window, crying for help. Surviving hostages telling French media the bombers urged one another to cause maximum carnage, as they were not planning on leaving alive. Among the dead, the merchandise manager for the American band Eagles of Death Metal, killed on site alongside nearly 90 others. His girlfriend writing on Twitter, "You are and always will be the love of my life." And there was 23-year-old Noami Gonzalez from California, a design student studying abroad here in Paris from California State University, Long Beach, killed at just one of the many restaurants targeted by those gun-wielding terrorists. A vigil was held for her Sunday evening.
She'll always be in my heart, and I think she's going to be in everyone else's heart, too.
And amidst the horror, the tragedy, tales of hope and heroics, Roman Renewal says he lived near two of the restaurants that came under attack and felt it was his duty to be there beside the dying. So why did you kneel down beside them?
What could I do? Ignore them? I'd just say do what you can. You're not a doctor. You can't help. You can just show feelings to people. Don't let people die alone.
We've been traveling throughout Paris, and just to give you an idea of the scope of the response here after the terror attacks, more than 150 searches, 23 arrests, and as we're on the air here this morning, 104 people under house arrest right now. And Robin and George, that was an incredibly powerful thing to hear from that man named Roman just a short time ago, who said he lived near two of those restaurants, went outside to kneel beside the people who were dying. He said there were multiple medics there, but they simply couldn't get to everyone, and he thought it was the least they deserved to have someone bear witness to what was happening in their final moments.
What an act. Okay, David, thanks very much. France and the U.S. have both declared these attacks an act of war directed by ISIS from their strongholds in Syria. ABC's chief investigative correspondent Brian Bras here with more on that dramatic change in strategy.
That's right, George. This is clearly no lone wolf attack, but a well-planned and orchestrated effort by top ISIS leaders who handpicked the men to carry out the terror plot, using a well-known Belgian ISIS recruit to lead the effort. This is the man French authorities believe was the mastermind of the Paris attacks, Abdelhamid Aboud, featured prominently in a number of ISIS propaganda videos. He's from the Brussels suburb of Molenbeek and has been back and forth between Syria and Belgium over the last several years, with a number of attempted plots to his credit, including the foil shooting of passengers on a high-speed European train earlier this year. French and U.S. authorities believe it's all part of a brand new strategy by ISIS to select and create hand-picked terror cells to carry out attacks in Europe and the U.S. At least one attacker in Paris was smuggled into Europe posing as a refugee, presenting this Syrian passport to Greek officials. He then traveled in early October from Greece to Serbia to Croatia as he made his way to France, according to officials. And officials say he was part of the team that attacked the Paris stadium and was the first to detonate his suicide vest. Another attacker was a 29-year-old French citizen identified 5 years ago as a possible terrorist, but never charged with serious crimes.
They have them as sleepers, and then they activate them for these attacks.
And France was warned the day before the attack that ISIS was about to strike, according to Iraqi officials who confirmed to ABC News a report by the Associated Press. The officials say Iraqi intelligence sent an alert that there would be 24 people involved, 19 attackers, and 5 others in charge of logistics. And the Iraqis say they warn the ISIS leader had ordered attacks on U.S. coalition countries through bombings or assassinations or hostage-taking in the coming days. French officials do not dispute receiving the warning, but say they get such generalized warnings all the time, every day. A CIA spokesman, George, declined to comment.
Yeah, there are a lot of specifics in that warning.
Exactly right.
Okay, Brian, thanks.
A lot of specifics indeed. France and the United States launching those relentless airstrikes inside Syria, targeting ISIS' self-proclaimed capital. The war on ISIS was at the top of President Obama's agenda as he meets with world leaders over the weekend, including Vladimir Putin. ABC's Martha Raddatz is in Washington with that side of the story. Good morning, Martha.
Good morning, Robin. The French have launched airstrikes against ISIS before, but nothing like this, and this is only the beginning.
Overnight, at least 20 bombs carrying out France's promise of retribution. 10 French fighter jets launching France's biggest raid in Syria to date, pounding the de facto ISIS capital of Raqqa. The targets, an ISIS command post, training camp, recruiting center, and a weapons warehouse. The bombing campaign carried out in coordination with the U.S. military.
We stand in solidarity with them in hunting down the perpetrators of this crime and bringing them to justice.
ISIS is also strongly suspected of blowing up that Russian passenger jet last month, prompting a rare private meeting between Obama and Vladimir Putin Sunday. Obama urging the Russian president to focus its airstrikes solely on ISIS, rather than the anti-Assad moderate rebels, which are supported by the U.S. In the last 15 months, the U.S. conducted the majority of the over 8,000 airstrikes in Iraq and Syria, amid 3,500 troops to Iraq, 45 rebels now trained, 100 inside Syria, and 50 U.S. operations troops. The president telling our Stephanopoulos before the attacks in Paris, the military campaign has stalled ISIS gains on the ground, but have yet to cripple them.
What we have not yet been able to do is to completely decapitate their command and control structures.
The challenge, the sheer size and distribution of resources. ISIS has between 20 to 30,000 fighters, controlling large swaths of land stretching across Iraq and Syria, and financing their oil fields that generate about $40 million a month.
And for the first time today, U.S. warplanes attacked over 100 fuel trucks used by ISIS to transport oil. It used to come. These airstrikes are part of a bigger campaign to go after the
Hard to believe that was the first time. Okay, Martha, thanks very much. Dozens of ISIS sympathizers in the U.S. this year. It's keeping an eye on hundreds of others. ABC senior justice correspondent Pierre Thomas tracking that homeland threat. Good morning, Pierre.
No credible threat to the U.S. has been identified. Today, the FBI is surveillance of suspected ISIS sympathizers here at home, taking no chances. Of the Paris massacre, security officials are presence at soft targets around the nation, including in Times Square. Today in the week, Americans should expect to see additional security near mass transit. While this is a visible show of force, nearly 1,000 terror investigations are right now in all 50 states involving ISIS.
ISIS is much more capable. There are more of them. This is a much bigger race from Al-Qaeda.
More than 70 suspected ISIS supporters arrested or confronted in the last 2 years, after their communications were intercepted. Boston man shot by police after he was wielding a knife, specifically chosen to executions. A Florida man, authorities to ISIS allegedly plotting to plant a